So back when I used to teach drumlines, there would come a point where when we'd be repping something, you could just kind of see like the eyes glaze over and people just kind of like checking out mentally. And so we kind of just like stop, like I am right now, tell a little bit of a story, maybe some jokes, just kind of like, hey, what are you doing this weekend, etc. Yeah, you're drumming? Okay, me too. And then we'd get back into the exercise. And that kind of like little couple minute like refresher really helped to make it so that we could get back and focus again, because there's just a point where diminishing returns where you just like, when again the eyes are glazed over, you're not really focused, like the mistakes are mental. It has nothing to do with your hands. So why keep working on it when it's only going to exacerbate the situation by just continuing to hammer it in? So just take a little mental break. After you're refreshed, come back, work on it. Another thing you can do is actually just work on something else. So like, cool, we just did this. Let's take a mental break by actually shifting focus to something else, and then we'll come back to this after a while. And then that can help. Ghost notes, like when you play. So you're basically stopping this hand from hitting instead of... So you're doing that. But one of the things that I was working on when I was going to do Ione was ghost flam drags. But then I thought it was fun, like, oh, well, what if you did some like backsticking? So that was a fun thing that I was going to do in my Ione solo, but car accident, didn't get a march my last 2 years, so maybe somebody else can do it. If I had maybe an hour or two, I'd spend like 10 minutes just focusing on sight reading. Basically set a metronome and just try reading through it. And then the next day I'd go through another couple of pages. And each day I'd just keep going a little bit further. And then once I finish this, all right, cool, I'm done with this book. I'll move on to another one and just read through it. Even if it sounds terrible, that's okay. The point is to expose yourself to a variety of different rhythms, melodies, harmonies, if you're playing like a marimba or something, and then just get to the point where you are more comfortable reading that. By the time you cycle through however many method books that you have, then you can come back to these and then you can continue to sight read it again, maybe trying it a little bit faster. If you expose yourself to new music every day, that right there is how you improve your ability to read music. So you notice when I'm doing this that I will typically just stay in my normal playing position, but sometimes I will like angle my body so I can see my hands from a different angle. And so when I'm doing that, I'm trying to focus on what my hands look like from the different angles. So I want to make sure that when I'm doing these crossovers that I'm not changing my wrist. You can't really see the sides, so it's good to sometimes like look and go, oh, how does that look from that angle? Or sometimes I'll even look at the camera, like the screen, to see how is it looking from that particular position. So whenever you're working on this stuff, it's good to get different angles, whether you use a mirror, whether you look like this, or use like some kind of a camera and like position it into a different position each time that you're working on your playing. Whenever you're practicing any rudiment or exercise or whatever, there's going to be an area that I call the gray area, where it's just like, I don't know about that. So when you play it slow, it might be really comfortable. When you play it fast, it might feel comfortable, but it's that middle zone, that gray area, where it's just like, this just doesn't sound great. Like the technique that you're using might be like, should I play with the faster technique or the slower technique? And ideally you have one smooth continuation of the technique that you're using, but sometimes when you're doing it, you get into this area like I am, where it's just like, bleh. I don't know why my nose gets so itchy when I'm streaming. I'm allergic to streaming, I guess. All right, diddle timing. Slurred. Normal. Rush. Normal. Interpretation. Now diddle on 2. Slurred. Normal. Rush. Normal. Diddle on 3. And then synthesis, all 3 variations with normal interpretation. Diddle on 2. Diddle on 3. All right. Full disclosure, what happened there at the very end is I was actually thinking about something completely different than drumming, and that's what screwed me up. So a lot of my mishaps right now are just because mentally I'm not able to focus. And the reason why I'm not able to focus is because 1, I'm hungry, and 2, I'm tired. So that impacts my playing. So it's really important to take care of those things, as it will have a huge impact on like how well you can actually play during the day. So first thing that I like to do is a stretch where you hold your sticks like this, and you pull one arm in, and then the other one. Oh, every now and then you just get a stretch where it just like hits just right. And it's just like very satisfying. To get out of the stretch, you just go back the way that you came. and then you're back there. Okay, now if you're working on traditional grip, you can rotate your sticks like this. It's good for just getting that rotary motion. I want to speed this up to find what does my technique do when I get to my breaking point. So that way I can go back and refine that, like on another day or in the next exercise that I'm going to work on. I won't be able to play this as fast as the downstrokes, but that's okay. I'll still be able to learn from it to figure out, hey, this is what I can work on for next time. If you can control this like this, at this speed, and they sound the same, then when you speed it up, it's going to sound so much better. A little late. The hands will sound even in terms of the volume. And you'll have control over the balance of both notes. So whenever you're doing these double stops on rebound, it's very important that you get a popping sound so that both hands are hitting at the same time, as opposed to a flam sound where it's getting like that chop sound. So go for the pop. That is what you want to hear when you're doing this. You want to try and balance out the hands so you don't have like one louder than another. Okay, so that was kind of me shifting between right and then the left hand being too loud. You want to go for both hands, same height, same volume. Because you can have it so, like I was demonstrating earlier with the velocity, so that one hand is playing louder than another simply by changing how fast it's moving or how much you are squeezing the stick. So stay nice and... You might be wondering, why would I want to work on this particular variation? Well, it specifically works on a cheese where you have the accent right after it. So specifically works on basically measure 2 if you have cheese on 1, where you would normally just go, ooh, just like that. So normally you'd play just for one measure, but this makes it so that you're only working on that every single time. Now, another variation that's on my website is the cheese after the accent. And so that variation is basically like working on measure 3. So that way you have the accent followed by the cheese. So that's why I have this particular variation on my channel and on my website. For people who used to march drum corps, I'm curious, do you also have very vivid drum corps dreams? Like, I have them very frequently. The most frequent dream that I've got is marching, doing whatever. Now, for context, I'm 37 now, and it's 2023. The last year that I marched was 2015, and I still have drum corps dreams. I had one last night. I had a dream that, like, I was at rehearsal, and then I had to go to like a doctor's appointment, and then when I came back, it was like midway through a show, and I like run and I grab my drum and I go to play, and then it's missing a head because like the drummers were playing a prank. Does anyone else have those kind of dreams?